You know that feeling, right? When you're in the room, but you're not really the one they want in the room? That little sting of not being the first choice? Well, today, we're going to get into the psychology behind that feeling of being unchosen and how it actually shapes who we are in ways we might not even realize.
Maybe you weren't the favorite kid, or the top priority, or the person someone really went to bat for. And hey, if that resonates with you, you are definitely not alone. And as we're about to see, this is so much more than just a passing feeling.
Because here's the kicker. When this feeling starts in childhood, it doesn't just hurt for a moment. It puts down roots. It becomes a core part of your story, shaping how you see yourself, how you act in relationships, and the choices you make for years and years to come. So let's break down exactly how that happens.
It all starts with a simple but really damaging lesson. That love isn't something you're just given. It's something you have to earn. And that belief kicks off this exhausting, lifelong cycle of trying to avoid being abandoned, no matter the cost. Now, this whole idea is rooted in something psychologists call attachment theory. The easiest way to think about it is like this. When we're kids, our caregivers are like our first mirrors. If they reflect back to us that we're valued, that we're wanted, we believe it. But what happens if that reflection is cracked, or if it shows us we're just not quite enough?
Well, it kicks off a cycle. It starts with feeling overlooked. You internalize this really powerful subconscious rule. Okay, I have to prove that I'm worth loving. And what do? You become the overachiever, the people pleaser. You're always giving more. And the tragic part is, you end up tolerating way more than you should, all just to feel a little bit secure.
To make this all work, the strategy often becomes, I need to be easy. You learn to swallow your needs, to hide when you're angry, and to say yes when every part of you wants to scream no. It's a survival tactic, really.
And listen, this isn't a conscious decision to be a pushover. Not at all. It's a deep, protective instinct. The subconscious logic is actually pretty simple. If I'm no trouble, if I'm not a burden, then maybe, just maybe, they won't replace me.
Okay, so constantly trying to earn love is, well, it's completely exhausting. So eventually, the mind switches tactics. It starts building walls, not to earn love anymore, but to protect itself from the pain of being disappointed again. And one of the biggest, strongest walls is hyper-independence. On the outside, man, it looks like incredible strength, right? But on the inside, it's a fortress built out of old hurts. When you learn early on that your needs won't be met, you just stop asking. You learn to rely only on yourself, because you've been taught that counting on others just leads to pain.
And this leads to something else called rejection sensitivity. It's like your brain develops this superpowered radar that's constantly scanning for any sign that you're about to be pushed out. Because you experienced it early on, your brain is on high alert for it to happen again.
So something that might seem totally tiny to someone else, like a text that takes a while to come back, or, just a subtle shift in someone's tone of voice. That doesn't feel small to you, it feels massive. It feels like the proof you've been waiting for. Your brain immediately connects that tiny cue to that big, old, deep wound of feeling unchosen.
Over time, all these experiences, the constant people-pleasing, the hyper-independence, that rejection radar, they stop being just behaviors. They sort of harden and solidify into a single, powerful belief about who you are at your core.
Psychologists call this a core belief. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like the operating system on your computer. You don't always see it, but it's always there, running in the background, quietly shaping every single thing you do. For someone who never felt chosen, that core belief often boils down to just two gut-wrenching words: I'm replaceable. I mean, when you think about it, it's the heartbreaking but logical conclusion you draw from a lifetime of feeling that way. And a belief like that, it sends ripples through your entire life. It quietly guides your decisions, it hurts your confidence, it shapes your relationships. It can even make you feel super uncomfortable when someone does genuinely prioritize you, because it just doesn't fit with this fundamental thing you believe about yourself.
But here's the thing. Understanding all these patterns isn't about blaming anyone. It's about empowerment. Because once you understand the source of these feelings, you can finally start to change the story. This is where healing really begins.
And if you take away only one thing, let it be this. Not feeling chosen was never a reflection of your worth. It was a failure of your environment to see and communicate the value that was always there. The problem was never, ever you. It was the message you were given.
And that's the real power here. When you can see the psychological why behind it all, the people-pleasing, the fear of asking for things, you can finally stop blaming yourself. You can see these aren't character flaws, they were brilliant survival strategies that maybe you just don't need anymore.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought. Understanding all this is the first giant step. But the next step is about action. So just think about it. What would it actually look like in your own life to start giving yourself the validation you always deserved? To finally and truly start choosing yourself?